So we're moving along on this Camaro. I didn't video much on the transmission removal and reinstallation. The car was brought in for multiple things. It's been in storage for 10 plus years. We pulled the transmission out to reseal it because it would just vomit transmission fluid out of the front seal, even though it was a new transmission. We actually ended up finding the front seal was leaking because the torque converter had a piece of MIG wire that had flashed itself on and was causing damage to the front seal. So luckily we caught that, and we're not having to do this twice, because had we not inspected the shaft where the seal rides, we would have missed that, and then we would be doing this again. At any rate, we put on a aluminum transmission pan, which should give us a little better sealing. I usually use the fiber gaskets because they are a little more durable and they seal better. Put a bunch of little bits back in, got the transmission back in, and we were bleeding the brakes out, and we never really could get a good pedal. One of his concerns was a mushy pedal. So I pulled the rear drums off and found a couple springs were installed wrong, and the park brake was actually over adjusted, so the park brakes were being adjusted. It just creates a big fiasco. So I backed the park brake cables off, adjusted the brakes correctly, put all the springs on correctly, and now we should have a good brake pedal. I did find an engine oil leak as well coming from the oil pressure sender, so I resolved that item, and now it's time to hang the wheels on this thing, take it out for a test drive, and see what else we can find wrong with it. Pretty good car, man. I mean, seriously, the body on this thing is one of the cleanest rust-free bodies I have seen in probably ever in the last 20 years. The door seams, the inside door, the folds where the outer skin goes to the inner structure, all beautiful, all the factory little spot welds. Just amazing car. I mean, he's got himself a really solid driver here. So we'll keep plugging away at it, keep making it better, because that's what we do. I'm not gonna lie, this guy got himself a really good deal on this car. So this thing has a power rack and pinion conversion. It's got tubular control arms, front disc brake conversion, big brake conversion in the rear. All of that stuff's brand new. It supposedly has a crate motor, crate 350. Looks to have maybe a March pulley system with air conditioning. It's got vintage air. Got leather bucket seats. The tires date code around 2002, which is probably about when this car was painted and built. Guy probably enjoyed it for 5-6 years, and then it got parked and has been sitting ever since. So super clean car. Had it rolled across my crosshairs, I'd have probably bought it too. This is a really nice car for what he has in it. Well, we're going to finish sorting this thing out. I have a Trailblazer in the way to get this thing out of here. We're doing a water pump on it. Some of that normal stuff we do in this shop. And so probably Monday we'll fire this thing up, take it out for a test drive, do a little more shakedown on it, and keep getting this thing ready for the road. Be Cool radiator. That was probably $600 back then. Claustrophobic. Still haven't found any like panel replacements in the body. The floor pans are original, or at least appear to be original. It's a really nice car. I test drove it the other day after we did all that work to it, and it honestly drove horrible. The suspension, the front coilovers are dialed in way too tight, so there's really no jounce at all, which is fine for a car you're driving on the track. But when you're in a car driving around the road, you want to have your suspension actually ride decent. So we're going to see if we can dial down our front shocks, get a little more flow in our valving so that these shocks actually are more than just rigid. And the brakes were still really mushy, so I started pulling it apart and I found the master cylinder was leaking out the back, and we decided to upgrade to a Wilwood master cylinder and proportioning valve. So we're going to get that installed, and then we'll see if we can make this thing drive a little bit better, which I'm pretty sure we can. It's just going to be a matter of finding the right recipe to get everything working the way it needs to be working. With that, I'm going to get this master cylinder put on here, which I'm sure will require some sort of modification to something, because whenever you change something, it always creates more work. And since this car has a small diameter brake booster, I'm going to have to trim the vacuum hose grommet, and hopefully it will still seal up after I'm done. So let's start with that. It's a little tricky to get in there, but we got her. That was a lot more work than it needed to be. But well, let's tighten our stuff down. We'll bleed the brakes. Fricassee. And this booster still won't work, so we're going to need to get a new booster. So let's get that ordered. Old booster for the front face vacuum port. New booster, side facing vacuum port, which allows us to fit our master cylinder correctly. Looks pretty much the same otherwise. And it's been painted black. Oh, we made some headway with this bad boy. We installed a Wilwood brake master cylinder with a adjustable proportioning valve. We also put a new brake booster in it because the vacuum port on the booster was on the front face, and we had to move it to an offset, one of the offset faces, to give clearance for the new master cylinder. But my brakes feel amazing now, which is great. It's got a nice smooth application. It's not like a whole bunch of free play and then it kind of stops, and then you press it harder and it still just doesn't stop. So now we've got good braking, and the QA1 front coilovers were dialed probably as aggressive as you could dial them in. I backed them all the way down to their softest position, and then clicked them up 3 clicks, took it for a ride, and it actually rides smooth now, which is good. It has Edelbrock shocks in the rear, which we will probably update to a TRW or a Bilstein in the rear. The Edelbrocks are a little stiffer than I'd like to see, but we'll let the customer make that decision. With that, that's the end of this one. It's time to move on to the next one. Thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe. We'll see you guys later.